in America. I want to begin by pointing out one group of people that you didn't see in this film. You saw anti-Israel professors, many of them. You saw anti-Israel students. You saw pro-Israel students. You did not see pro-Israel professors. And let me tell you why that's so serious. Every major university has pro-Israel professors. And with a few exceptions, they are absolute cowards. Let me tell you how I know that. Whenever I speak on university campuses, and I speak all over, I get a phone call that afternoon or the next day from 4 or 5 professors at the university. And the phone call goes like this: thank you, Alan, in a whisper, for speaking out on Israel's behalf. And I say, the reason I was invited is because you won't speak out on Israel's behalf. Why are you silent? You speak out in your synagogue, you speak out in your country club, you contribute to the UJA, you contribute to the JNF. Why are you silent? Why, when Columbia University wants a pro-Israel speaker, they have to go to Harvard? Why, when Yale wants a pro-Israel speaker, they have to ask me? Why, when Michigan wants a pro-Israel professor, I'm the only one there? Erwin Cutler, Elie Wiesel, who's now getting old, but I'm the one who gets called on. Because I have to tell you, in 50 years of teaching at Harvard, at Stanford, at NYU, at Yale, I have never met a less courageous group of people than pro-Israel professors with tenure. They are gutless, they have no courage, they do not use their tenure. Why? Let me tell you why. Because they get punished. Their student evaluations go down. Story that happened to me. When I started speaking on behalf of Israel, I was the top-ranked teacher at Harvard Law School. My evaluations were always #1. When I started teaching, never teach about Israel, it's outside the classroom. The classroom is sacrosanct. One must be totally objective. But when I started speaking and becoming identified with pro-Israel attitudes, the student evaluations went down dramatically. What happens is the group of radical students would get together. You get ranked from 1 to 5. And about 20 of my 100 students would give me 0, 0, 0 on everything. On my teaching skills, on my knowledge of the subject. And the dean called me in one day and said, I see what's going on. I said, why do you see what's going on? He said, I looked at your evaluations, and you get a 0 for accessibility outside of class. And everybody knew I was the most accessible professor. I took every student to lunch. Every student was invited to our home for dinner. My wife is here with us tonight. She took the burden mostly of that, but we had every student for dinner. We had students over the house for our Passover Seder, for our Yom Kippur breakfast. So I was the most accessible professor to students, and I got a 0, 0, 0, 0 for accessibility outside the classroom, and that became very clear what was going on. I was being punished for my pro-Israel advocacy. I was excluded from the American Academy of Arts and Sciences because of my pro-Israel advocacy. I was denied, believe it or not, an honorary degree at Brandeis University. The president of Brandeis called me and said...
Say his name. What is his name?
Yehuda Reinhardt.
You'll bet your life.
No, let me tell you what happened. He called me and he asked... No, it's the opposite. Well, he called me and he asked me, would you be willing to accept an honorary degree from Brandeis? And I said, of course, it would be my great honor. Called me about 2 weeks later, and he said, Alan, I just can't do it. Graduations are about the students, not about protests. And I was told that if you got an honorary doctorate, Professor Gordy Feldman, Jewish professor, would lead a campaign against you and there'd be demonstrations. And so I don't care. I have more honorary degrees than I can hang on my wall. Do I care if I'm in the American Academy of Arts and Sciences or if my student evaluations go down? But imagine an assistant professor or an associate professor seeking tenure who wants to speak out for Israel. They're terrified.